He's a doctor who's accused of disfiguring his patients. He's also been charged with practising unregistered. So when we caught up with him, he wasn't happy to see us.
I trusted this clinic and it's just been hell. It's been a nightmare.
Just wanted some answers for some of your patients. Why are you trying to avoid us?
These people are playing with your life and you trust them. It just makes me feel so angry that they can get away with this.
Mohammed, you're in a mountain of trouble here.
I put all my trust in him. He didn't care the pain that he'd caused me.
Left traumatised at Australia's little cosmetic shop of horrors.
Honestly, I feel like they've taken a year off my life. You know, I could have had a good relationship. I could have had a good job. I could have done heaps of stuff.
Where more than a dozen patients have been left devastated or worse.
One of these patients almost died. They were in a coma. Who do you feel is responsible for that?
It was excruciating. Like every morning, I couldn't even say lift a glass up by myself, and sitting up in the morning was the worst. It's just so tight, in your chest, and it's just, I can't even explain it.
Not at all how Hannah imagined her breast implant operation would go. After all, the clinic she chose in Melbourne's upmarket Camberwell looked every part professional, promising affordable prices and top-notch staff, including Malaysian-trained doctor Mohammed Faisal Anwar.
After it, I was really, really bruised, and I just thought, well, I told him that, and he said, oh, you must just bruise easily. But ever since, talking to other surgeons and stuff, they said it was severe internal bleeding.
Not only did she have to go to another surgeon to fix the problem, but she still lives with the aching consequences.
It's like a dull pain that just doesn't go away. You can't get rid of it.
Do you feel like you've been conned?
Yeah, pretty much. And not just that, all the time I've had to take off work, or the money I've had to spend, everything like that, it's just not fair.
It was just too good to refuse. He seemed very professional, very charming, and I thought, OK, well, I'll book it in.
That charm soon disappeared after Anwar operated on Lucy DiPaolo's nose.
Then I went for a checkup to see him again a month later, and I noticed the bridge of my nose was moving up and down. And I thought, well, maybe it's to do with swelling. And I showed it to him, and he said, oh, we've got to operate straight away. And I thought, OK, and then alarm bells went.
Despite 2 more operations, Lucy claims things got worse. An independent surgeon revealed to her she had 2 foreign objects inside her nose, which may even collapse.
They didn't know what it was, and they said that they've seen, this is common overseas. When people go overseas and to get their nose jobs done, and they come back and then they have to remove them. So they were surprised that happened in Melbourne.
Several clients are considering taking legal action, according to Maurice Blackburn lawyer Tom Ballantyne.
You can imagine if you've got an obvious scarring or infection or something like that, your appearance has changed. It has a dramatic impact on your ability to socialise, even work in some circumstances.
And for one patient, Jonathan Evans, it almost cost him his life. The 32-year-old went under and woke up 3 days later in intensive care, to be told he could have been brain dead. Before all this went down, this doctor and his wife had been living it up, a home in Melbourne's exclusive Kew. But now Mohammed is crying poor, claiming he's been struck with illness, suffering a stroke last year.
Hey, no, what, sick?
You're sick?
You do this? Yes.
Yeah, but some of these patients are very, very unwell and they're struggling financially because of what happened, and they just want some answers.
I've seen on social media and stuff that they do have money with new cars and brand name bags and all that kind of stuff. So they've obviously got money, even though he says he doesn't.
As for the Swish clinic where this scandal unfolded, Dermamed was at the time owned by Dr Rodney Aziz and sponsored Anwar to come to Australia to work. Dermamed has since been sold to a new owner who has nothing to do with the dodgy treatments.
As for Anwar, he had his doctor's title stripped and now faces court for practicing without a medical licence. But the maximum potential penalty doesn't include jail time, just a fine of up to 30 grand.
Another failed patient, Hanae Hamoy, left with scarring, an infection and numbness behind her ear after a facial procedure at the hands of Anwar.
Sickening to know that this kind of thing can happen in Australia. Just to know how easy it is for a doctor like him and a clinic like them to get away with doing what they've done, not just to myself but to everybody.
In Australia, anyone who has done basic medical training at a university and comes out calling themselves a doctor can also call themselves a surgeon.
So basically, your average GP, even those trained overseas, can do highly invasive slice and dice procedures in Australia. But to call yourself a specialist plastic surgeon, you have to do an extra 8 years training. Professor Mark Ashton, president of the Australian Society of Plastic Surgeons, says cosmetic cowboys are a blight on the industry.
We are often fixing other people's mistakes where they've attempted to do something, it's not what they expected, things have gone wrong, and they didn't know what to do.
He's especially worried about how doctors are being flown in from overseas to work on visas.
The most obvious thing that can happen is you can die. I mean, every cosmetic surgery procedure carries risk, and it's not just simply, I'm having non-surgical procedures. So even if you're having Botox, even if you're having fillers, there are significant risks attached to all of those procedures.
And he's not exaggerating. The sad fact is, lives are being lost. Recently, a Sydney woman died after a botched breast surgery, allegedly performed by a woman with no medical qualifications in Australia. Then there's the case of Melbourne man Lee Apel, who flew to Malaysia for an extreme makeover. Less than 24 hours after he arrived home, he was dead.
Cosmetic surgery is highly entrepreneurial, and there's an obvious risk with that kind of motivation, which ultimately is money.
We have to stop this before someone else is injured or passes away.
Mohammed Anwar will be appearing again in court on the 19th of this month to make his plea. And there's information about how to choose the right doctor for you on our homepage.